Weekend?
I did. It was boring again, but
boring.
Well, yesterday it rained all day, so
Didn't I see you yesterday? Oh, we went to eat lunch or something yesterday together.
We had breakfast. We had a late breakfast. Yes.
Brunch, is that what they call it?
Yeah, brunch.
Yeah. I get lost in the weekends, and around here in Louisville, it gets kind of boring sometimes. There's not a whole lot to do.
Oh, and you did yard work for me on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
That was nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
pays
you're welcome. I couldn't walk Saturday morning when I got up.
pays to have him as your neighbor.
Yeah. You're cleaning out your closets. If you're cleaning out your basement, first of all, bring all the stuff to Shirley's Deals, because that's one of our best second time around stores in Louisville. But when you're doing that and you need your ductwork cleaned and you want to have your carpets clean, call Jimmy Weeks and his team at Max Care Carpet Cleaning. They're amazing and will do one heck of a job. I think Kellye said they pulled a squirrel out of your ductwork one time.
I don't know what that was.
I'll never forget that.
I think it was a lot bigger than a squirrel.
Yeah.
It was scary.
A big old hairball from whoever was there. I think our houses were built in the 60s, so they clean those ductworks out really good. They do a great job. So call Max Care. They do a fantastic job. All right, today we have the ladies in from Jacob's Ladder. What an amazing organization. We have Meg and Nicole here. I don't know. Until you all reached out a while back, I didn't know what Jacob's Ladder does. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about what your all's mission is? And you want to lean into the microphone because we won't be able to hear you.
Okay. Jacob's Ladder formed as a spinoff from the Forgotten Louisville, which Tiny Bradshaw Heron started. And they wanted to do a little bit more than just do a weekly outreach. And so they were looking at always wanting to do some type of a housing initiative. But they started with a weekly outreach of a hot meal, community, and seasonal supplies. And Jacob's Ladder is named after Pastor Jacob Boger, who passed away from cancer.
That's interesting.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And he had asked Angie, one of the co-founders, to carry on his mission of not only feeding, but housing.
Wow.
So that's how the name came about for Jacob's Ladder. So currently Jacob's Ladder provides a weekly hot meal and community seasonal supplies every Wednesday night out in the off of Preston Highway.
So you all actually have a physical location?
No.
Is that just where
we don't
have
a building. We have an individual who lets us use his parking
there you
lot.
Go. Yeah, that's what I was
as long as we clean up. And so tables are set up, tents, heaters if needed, so that people can sit down, not just walk through a line and get some food and stand and eat. There are chairs, there's tables. Volunteers can sit down and eat with them.
Y'all do that every Wednesday, rain or shine, cold, snow. So y'all had
through
a few
the winter
rough
and
weeks
everything.
there.
We had I would say about 9 really rough weeks in a row. It seemed like Wednesday was getting the worst weather, but that's okay. That's what we're here to do. We get to go back home.
Right.
The folks who are coming, some of them come from miles. We go to 3 different locations on Wednesday nights.
Oh my gosh.
Some of them come from miles and know when we're going to be there. We do have one gentleman who rides his bike 4.5 miles to get to the second location. And so we're fortunate. We are able to provide the hot meal, provide the supplies, sometimes tents if we have those donated, always warm blankets, emergency blankets, flashlights, anything that you can imagine, plus the hot meal, really getting to know the individuals. We did have someone, this is a tearjerker, you guys. We had someone the week before last who had housing now, has a wonderful job, an amazing car, came back and handed us money to pay for one of the coming meals.
Oh my goodness.
And sat down with the current unhoused individuals and really was encouraging, and there's hope at the end of the tunnel.
Wow.
And so we know that what we're doing is what we should be doing, but we can do more. And that's where the idea of Eden Village of Louisville has come about. We're looking to build somewhere between 25 and 35 tiny individual dwelling homes for the unhoused. We're currently looking for property. In order to do so, we have raised about $250,000 toward the property and the operating expenses in order to make this happen. But it came from the sense of, yes, we're doing all the right things. Louisville has so many amazing unhoused organizations.
Yeah.
And it takes so many because the population is so high.
Are you seeing it grow as
We
there
are,
are more and more
yes.
people in situations? What are the situations? They lose their job, get their house foreclosed on, and they're on the streets, or are they doing substances, or I guess it's probably a mix of both.
It's a mix,
I mean,
a
why are
very,
we
very
seeing
good
such
mix.
a growth in
Well,
the unhoused?
It is so expensive
Yeah.
to have an apartment these days.
Yeah, because affordable housing is not affordable. So whoever
Right.
keeps using that term, please stop using the term affordable housing. It is not affordable. So go ahead. It's not affordable. I get aggravated. I see them say we're providing affordable. No, you're not. $1,800 a month is not affordable.
No, it's not.
But sorry
Not
about
when
that.
you can get a 4,000 square foot house for $1,800.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you don't have to put down the first month and the last month and
The deposits
all
for
the crazy
utilities and
things. So it's housing. There is disabilities. There is mental illness. There is substance abuse. Let's not pretend that that's not happening.
Right.
Sometimes though, that substance abuse comes about later while somebody's unhoused. Though.
Yeah.
Well, think of all the things you have coming at you negatively.
Yes.
I mean,
and one of the things that I don't think most people know is a lot of the unhoused individuals do work, either going somewhere to shower or they're using bath wipes. They are working. Some as much as 40 and 50 hours a week, and it's still not enough.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are working 2 jobs. Years ago, you could find a job in corporate America and work there most of your life and make a really good income. But I know several people that work corporate jobs that still have to work 2 jobs because they still can't make ends meet. And I'm not talking about some of them are blowing money. I mean, that's a total different issue. But just basic necessities that have gotten so high and salaries have dropped so low. I'm surprised at how many people are on government assistance that work for major corporations, and obviously that's what you see as well.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just talk. Oh, I know 60% of the teachers I know work a second or third job,
or firefighters, or
police officers,
nurses. Yeah, all
every firefighter I know has
cuts
some
grass
sort of
or does something on the side. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is. I don't know where the money's going.
Well, and most of these people have advanced degrees. As well.
Well, I mean, honestly, your average person is 1 or 2 paychecks away from losing everything.
Absolutely.
I mean, you lose your job for a couple months, you're probably going to lose it all.
And my husband and I talk about the fact that, if our kids, his kids from his first marriage and our daughter, if they didn't have us, and the times that we have had to help them, or they've had to come live with us through a divorce, whatever, moving, that sort of thing. If they didn't have us, they would be right there on the street.
And a lot of people don't have that support.
And so it can be such a small thing that will end up putting you on the street. And then with the pandemic, people getting evicted. I know they weren't allowed to for so long, but then they were, or they had to pay the back rent, and it can be such a small thing that will put people on the street. And then, like Nicole said, if you're on the street and you've got everything coming at you, you're worrying about everything you own. So you try to go to work, or you try to go somewhere and do something, you're worried that all your stuff is going to be taken or swept up by the city. So you've got that going on all the time. So if you didn't have a physical disability or a mental disability or drug addiction before you became homeless,
you're going to have it
your
now.
chances of having any of those after you've been on the street for a while are just super, super high. And it's not that, and we hear a lot, well, they just want to be on the street. The majority of people do not want to be on the street.
Yeah, we got to stop.
There are a few.
Yeah.
There are a few that are not going to.
They don't like
structure. They're not going to be able to function in a home, but the majority of people do not want to be on the street.
Yeah, we got to stop painting with a broad brush, because just because somebody's on the street doesn't mean they're doing drugs, doesn't mean that they want to be there. It's tough. It really is. I mean, I read an article the other day that was talking about more and more families are living together and putting more people. It's because they can't afford anything else.
My husband just shared that with me.
Did you see it?
Well, I didn't see it, but my husband did. And he's like, we need a bigger house, because we were talking about, his daughter and granddaughter and the great grandkids that we have now too. And he's like, we need a bigger house in order to try to help and take care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not because people want to live with their mom and dad the rest of their life, but I don't know the true answer, but I think the average starter home these days is over $220,000. It's in that range, and you have to have a pretty good income to be able to do that. What's that, a $2,000 a month mortgage payment or something? I mean,
right.
I don't know. I don't know the answer other than everything seems to be floating up to the top, and people down here aren't getting enough crumbs to survive.
And so one of the interesting things, everything we're talking about is considered resource capital. Mm-hmm. It's where, Meg, you talked about being able to help your kids and your grandkids and your great grandkids. Well, a lot of the people who we encounter on the street do not have that resource capital. There's not someone who is able to help them pay their rent or move them in. And so one of the things that we believe is very important as we start moving people into permanent housing is making sure that we create a community and resources for them so they have the same resource capital all four of us here have. Mm-hmm. And so as we're looking at building this village, the Eden Village of Louisville, it's going to have resources surrounding. So the very first thing that we plan to go up on this property is a community center, a place for every single one of the residents to gather, to get supportive services, have offices so that one-on-one counseling can occur behind a closed door. You're not out in an open space, which happens a lot of times when these unhoused individuals go to seek services. When they go into community buildings, they're basically at a table in the lobby asking for help. So let's provide a place that allows decency. People, yes. Mm-hmm. So they can really dive in and get into what is needed. There's going to be a community kitchen. We're going to be teaching some life skills. It'll also be a place that others can come in from the community to make a meal for the individuals. But the whole point around this is to create the resource capital and have a mentoring team for about 2 years with this individual to help get them acclimated, help find a job, help find maybe they do qualify for some government assistance they're not getting in the short term, or if disabled in the long term. Yeah. And so it's really important that as we're looking at building the properties, we're not just saying, okay, we're finished, we're out.
Right.
That's not what this is about. It's really about giving or providing tools for the unhoused where they can have a permanent roof over their head, that can get a job. They can work through whatever problems they're currently having, mental, physical. I mean, heck, all of us can probably use a little of the mental guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know we're
everybody
crazy.
needs therapy. I'm telling you.
Is that where we're at in society, though, where people lose their homes, and to get them back on up, they have to decide to move into a little 400 or 500 square foot home and share it with everybody in the community. It's just a weird dynamic that we're in right now. For years, people were buying these nice homes and 2,000, 2,500 square foot homes. They had their families, and now we're going to tiny homes out of necessity, and there's so much money in this world. I just don't know where it's going. It just seemed like salaries haven't increased in the last 25 years to where people can sustain themselves is what I think is going on.
Well, and honestly, I don't know that there is sustainable income or a job market these days either.
What are we going to do when everything is a robot?
Right. That's a little scary.
I'm not for government assistance at all. I want people to get what they need from the government and have a way out, not depend on it the rest of their life. And it seems like that more and more things are digitized and robots. We're going to be in a situation one day where a lot of us might be homeless because the jobs that we traditionally have done are gone. They're not coming back.
Right.
So,
Or you're going to have to do it yourself when you check out at the grocery store.
Oh, that gets my dad. He's 82, and he's like, I don't work here. Why do I have to do that? I'm like, well, that's the way
a
of the world.
double-edged sword there, because they're doing it to save money,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, but they're also doing it because a struggle we have trying to find people to work.
I know.
We can't hire people.
I love it. I'm like, I'd rather than stand in a line and wait for 40 minutes. I can check out myself. But
we've kind of done it to ourselves by people just not wanting to apply for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the jobs aren't paying what they need for somebody to survive. It's kind of weird.
Right.
Well, and do people have the transportation
to
get to the job?
Or they spend their paycheck on transportation that week. You know,
I looked at a car and I wasn't buying that. I don't buy new cars. And like a brand new truck is like almost $90,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's over $1,000 a month car payment for something like that. I don't know. There's a huge rabbit hole we can go down. Maybe we can have another discussion another day. But the point is, affordable housing is not affordable. It's not affordable for the majority of people.
I'm going to debunk that just for a tiny bit.
All right.
So this village will be between $350 and $400 a month rent.
That's affordable.
That includes utilities.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's where we're wanting to break the barrier. We are wanting to make it possible for someone to be able to work whatever job they need to work in order to have.
So are these going to be available for people that are on the streets, or available for anybody to rent single bedroom homes or something?
So I'll let you talk.
Go just on the people that have been on the street.
Okay.
So there is an application process and an interview process. So that they can document that they have been on the street. It's a federal definition of being chronically unhoused, that you've been unhoused for a year or several times that add up to a year, like over the last 2 or 3 years. And then also the population, that the demographic that we're looking at is individuals with a disability, a mental or a physical disability. So when, what we're talking about is that, trying to figure out how all this works together, is we hear a lot saying, well, why don't those people get a job? Or why don't they do this and clean it? Well, like Nicole said, a lot of them do have jobs, but when you have to worry about all of your stuff, when your next meal's going to come and all of those kinds of things, what we are proposing, and it should be everywhere, is that housing first. You've got to have a safe place. Then you can relax maybe a little bit and work on all those things that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the biggest part right there. The rent to pay to live there, individuals can stay there and age in place. We would help them with a ramp if need be, or like Nicole said, if they have that little bit of help of being in $350 a month and they can receive some support, maybe they can move up to a higher job because now they can get some better clothing or get some training, and maybe they don't want to live there anymore, So it's not like we're locking them in and this is where you have to stay, but they have that choice.
Well, you had mentioned 2 years. So is that like your timeline? You're hoping by the end of 2 years they would be ready, or is that?
No. She was saying you get what's called a home team. So that's a group of volunteers that are trained, that are kind of like your support system, because what she was saying is so many of these people on the street don't have what we all have, our families.
Right, okay.
So this is kind of like a family that kind of is just there for them.
Okay, so they can stay there as long as...
This is age in place.
Wow.
They can stay
because several people say you can only stay here for like 24 months.
Right, till you know.
Right. Yeah. Now, this is permanent, supportive, permanent housing.
Wow.
Yes. And it started in Springfield, Missouri, back around 2017, 2018, where a group, or a husband and wife, retired couple, started a weekly outreach, like Jacob's Ladder, feeding once a week, and felt the same thing, that they went home on a cold winter's night and, locked up the door where they were providing a meal and watching their friends go to tents. And started thinking about housing, and one of their neighbors said, you need to talk to Nate Schluter, because he helped with Community First in Austin, Texas. So those three individuals got together and came up with the idea of Eden Village. And so they are the model that is being followed around the country.
Yeah, it's working,
now.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they have 2 open in Springfield, building their 3rd, have purchased property for their 4th. Wilmington, North Carolina is open. Tulsa, Oklahoma is open, and Kansas City, Kansas.
Wow.
And then Louisville, we're one of like 8 other cities across the country that are in different phases of getting this started.
You know, this has been talked about for years. The can's been kicked down the road, and I really feel it's time to start doing something about this because, you know, a lot of these unhoused people, they're kind of not safe for some people. We have several folks around here that, you know, you can tell they're off medication or something. But it'd be a great way to have a place to send people to be able to get some help, really. How many people do you all feed every Wednesday, just roughly?
Around 60 every Wednesday.
And your Eden Village would have how many homes?
35.
So we need 2 Eden Villages minimum.
We probably need 10.
We need 50 Eden Villages,
Yeah,
but we have to start with one.
Right.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have to start with one, figure out the kinks. Well, first we have to find the property, build, figure out the kinks, and then start immediately fundraising
Right, for the next
for additional ones.
There's so much
Springfield
money.
thinks they need 5.
In Louisville?
Springfield, Missouri
Oh, Springfield.
thinks they need
It's a
5.
much bigger
and
city.
No.
Oh,
They
it's
are
not?
half the size of Louisville.
Okay.
Half the size of Louisville.
Okay. Wow.
So that tells you about, you know, the number of people that we have on the street compared to them.
I don't know why
So
the city isn't jumping all over it.
I would love to. We haven't had the opportunity to actually have a sit-down meeting with our mayor. I have been tempted to try to contact our governor or the lieutenant governor because I know she was an educator and I was an educator. And I thought, is there some way I could get a meeting with her to share this with the governor? Or ask the mayors of these other cities to contact our mayor and say, hey, you know, get on board with this, support it, speak out in support. You know, these people we're not taking your state dollars, tax dollars, it's all private funding. But it would be very helpful if our mayor would come out and say, hey, I support Eden Village. Who's out there? Where are those philanthropists to donate? And we appreciate Shirley's Way Gaming for a huge donation last October. But we're still fundraising, trying to purchase land.
If people were serious about fixing this problem, they could pick up the phone and call somebody and probably have the money in about 6 hours.
Right.
It's just convincing them that this is the right thing to do. We've got to get people off the streets. We got to make people feel safe. I was told that Louisville is one of those cities that other people are sending people to by the busload and dropping them off because there's so many temporary services. We don't have anything permanent here for that kind
We don't even have enough shelters, I don't think.
We don't.
I know.
I mean, we had people freezing to death during the cold snaps
and then they
over
go
the
through
winter.
and just wipe them all off the street and throw all their stuff away and then don't do anything about it.
Is there many veterans that you're aware of that are in this situation? You know,
Absolutely.
I saw a friend of a city official hop on a post one day and said, anybody that says veterans are homeless and we don't have resources with them is a lie, and they need to call and figure this out. I don't think that's right. I think there's veterans out there that if there is services, they don't know about them because they're on the street.
There's not as many veterans as you would think.
But they shouldn't be.
Right, you're right. My husband is
of all
a
people.
veteran. Right.
Yeah, of all people.
But the VA hospital does have an outreach to find them. So a couple of years ago when I did the street count at 4:00 in the morning,
Oh my gosh.
the VA group was with my group, and we did find some veterans. And so the VA, there were 2 individuals, you know, spoke to those people and, you know, shared information in order to help them. So,
But they just didn't know about it, or they couldn't get the resources?
because they were recently homeless, and so they weren't familiar with that. But the VA, just so everybody knows, does have an outreach program to find those veterans.
Good.
Okay.
They do,
So-
but we do service on average five a week, which is too many.
Too many.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, that's a good percentage out of 60.
Yeah. You said you do your night counts. You go out and count people on the streets. Is that what you said at 4 in the morning?
Yes.
Wow.
So
I wouldn't do that.
This was through yes. So this was through the Coalition for the Homeless. So individuals, we would sign up, we would go for training, we would meet at Hotel Louisville, run by Wayside, and for a training and to get our team and to get our locations of which camp areas or which part of the cities we were going to. So people on the street had been told by the boots on the ground outreach teams for weeks, this is the count night. This is the count night, so that they would know. And so we all came back at 3 or 4 in the morning because we want to find people where they're at instead of wandering
most of
through
them
the
probably
night,
back then.
as far as the most accurate count. And so we would go out in teams, and as we approached a camp area, if we went to a specific area where there was a camp, then we would say outreach, just like anybody else does when they approach a camp, so people know who's coming in. And then we all had papers, we recorded, we tried to interview if they would answer questions. If they didn't want to answer any questions, then that was fine. But when the pandemic hit, so I guess this was before, this was 5 years ago, I guess, that I did it. I've done it twice. Then they have changed it. And now I think there's a smaller group of people that go out, and they have not had all the volunteers come in again to do this. But I mean, there was probably one to 200 of us going out in different parts. And if you were in a part of Louisville that not necessarily a camp was known, then we just walked and looked in doorways, behind buildings and alleys. But we traveled together, Mike. We weren't out there by ourselves.
Well, that's what I thought. Maybe
and
you two were out wandering around.
No. I wasn't. No,
it's not real safe.
No. We were in groups, and it's quite the experience.
So what's the solution? Obviously, Eden's Village is a great start. I mean, there's got to be a long-term solution, but it sounds to me like we need 3 or 4 of these minimum Eden villages around town to try and get people off the street. So, if an officer picks up somebody that's unhoused, taking them to jail is not the solution. Taking them to Eden Village would be a solution. In my mind, I don't know. To me, I would think that's how it should work.
So, yes, you could bring them to Eden Village if we had a home and they met the application process. They could move in, but there are other services, at least temporarily, that could help. And I know that's contradicting what we said. We need permanent solutions, but sometimes you have to start someone down the temporary path.
But even with the other services, I was told by another organization that if you call one of the big ones, and I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to throw them under the bus, there's no beds available. So then what do you do? I mean, there's no place to send folks in that situation.
There's not, and I will be honest. It feels like every turn from organizations trying to do the right thing get shut down recently.
Yeah. I watched a lot of that.
Yes, and we're not going to throw anybody under the bus. We're not going to say any names, but I mean that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was.
And so I think we all just have to keep trudging along. There's no perfect solution. No solution here is going to be perfect. We all need to be working together as a city. In my opinion, we're supposed to be a compassionate city, right? Let's work together compassionately and come up with both temporary solutions for people who need it and permanent solutions for everyone who needs it. Because none of our fellow community members should be living on the street, should be freezing to death, should be overheating, should be having their belongings swept up, or things of that nature. In my opinion, I don't know the perfect solution. I really don't.
Because I feel like every situation's different. I mean, you can't go in with a cookie cutter idea for all these people, and everything's.
Yeah, we just need a solution because it's a safety issue for everybody around. We got unhoused people that get in our dumpsters, and I complain about this all the time, and we don't care what they take, but they make messes everywhere. And, we don't know what to do to fix it. We got mostly women that work for us, and some of them, they'll call me in the morning. Somebody's sitting outside screaming at themselves, and I'm scared to unlock the door and go in by myself, so we'll have to come down here and let them in the door and make sure they feel safe. And it's a chronic problem but I think we need the heads to get together and have some sort of discussion about this, because I don't think the city running out and doing something on their own is going to fix it, because they don't really know all the answers. Somebody says, we're just going to do this. That's not fixing it. You need people that have been there to understand the problem and come up with a solution.
Well, that's why I think your story from the gentleman last week, coming back and talking to him and telling him, that's huge.
There's hope.
Yeah.
I also believe that we have a behavioral health desert in the city, and it's nationwide. It's not just Louisville.
What do you mean by that? Like services?
It's very hard to get the services that you need. It's very hard to get the services when you're unhoused. It's very hard to get the services when you're insured.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. And so that's something that has to be worked on, in Nicole's opinion.
Right.
We had U of L mental health come in here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about that. And I said, great. Can we, if somebody picks somebody up that's unhoused and on drugs, can we just drop them off here? Well, you can, but we can only hold them for so many hours. I said, well, that's not doing any good at all.
Yeah.
If we drop somebody off, get their meds straight, get them cleaned up, and then they're gone.
Or they can't afford their meds.
Yeah, they can't afford their medications.
And then no support afterwards.
Or it'll take them 3 months to get, into a counseling appointment or something, and they're going through a crisis in that moment. That's useless.
Yes. And that's where I say, I feel like we have a desert. We have a plethora of, I cannot say that word. Why I tried, I don't know. Of behavioral health services in Louisville. They're just very hard to access. A lot of them are private pay.
Yep.
And I'm not saying if I was not a behavioral health counselor, I wouldn't be private pay as well. But it makes it very hard to access the services that can use government dollars, can use insurance, can use Medicaid, what have you, to access. If it's a really small percentage.
Yeah, I'm going to run for office one day, and we're going to set aside a couple $1 million a year, and we're going to figure out how to fund this stuff. And
you don't want to save the forest? That one blows my mind. We sent like $1 million to the trees.
$5 million. And I'm not opposed to that.
Wouldn't you have like $1 million though?
I'm not opposed to that, but when
we would be well on our way with $1 million.
I mean, seriously, and I know you got to protect the trees and whatever, but I'm like, really, $5 million?
Yeah, let's get the people off the streets.
Yeah,
there's money here in Louisville, and that's where it's just trying to reach the right people that need to hear us. And so, we appreciate being on a podcast. We've done some other live streams. Anything that we can get the word out right now. We do presentations if somebody would like us to come to their church or their community organization. And we don't come and beg for money, but so much of it is just getting the word out and people believing in this. And we've had some terrific donations from people who have just heard us and really want to support us and see us move further. So,
I think a big thing too is, like with Shirley's Way, everyone's been affected by cancer in some way. So they have some type of personal, but probably a lot of people don't have the unhoused in their family or maybe even know anyone that's been, so they don't feel the need to help, I guess,
Right.
Spot on.
Yeah. That's just,
but we're lucky that, we have two co-founders, Angela Tamura and Melantha Williams. And Angela was unhoused, couch surfing and living in her car after
we need to get her in here and talk about that.
She and it was just it was a family squabble where mom said, get out of the house. And she tells that. I'm not saying anything she doesn't share. Melantha grew up in foster care. So again, having permanent supportive housing in places. I have a stepson in Canada who has been unhoused multiple times. So, people that you could just look and say, oh, she doesn't know anybody or nobody in her family, but I have.
Yeah.
And his stuff has been taken and reported to us. I left all my stuff here. I buried it. I come back. It's all gone. So that does happen.
Yeah.
And
a few people that they ended up in that situation because they went in for a doctor's appointment. They walked out with pain pills. Next thing you know, they're addicted to prescription pain pills, and they, like it or not, that's what happened. And it's horrible. It's a horrible situation. I guess my last question is, one, we've got to fix this problem. I'm tired of the can being kicked down the road, but how do you all raise money? I mean, what is it? Where does the food come from? How do you raise money? Do you do a couple events a year, or how is that working for you all?
So we have a capital campaign running where somebody
is there a website?
There is. It is at Jacob's Ladder. Oh my gosh.
Put you to the test.
I know.
I'm looking on the sheet.
At Jacob's. Oh, it's not on here. Oh my gosh, the other board members are going to kill me, you guys.
We'll post the information to get it.
Thank you.
We'll put it on.
But then we also do have events throughout the year. We just had our trivia night, which was a wild success with a bourbon raffle. We had 7 different pretty unique bourbon packages put together, and we did a bourbon raffle at the same time as the trivia night. We are going to have a reverse raffle in the fall, and then a Friendsgiving purse bingo around Thanksgiving. And those are our 3 major.
What do those raise? Just curious. 3 events. You spent an entire year doing 3 events. What do they raise? 100,000, 200,000?
No, we're not quite there yet.
Not
there
even
yet. 100,000?
We did no.
So you spent an entire year planning 3 events to raise $100,000.
Correct. Right now,
I'm bringing that up for a reason, because we went down the charitable gaming path, and you all know we've talked about that. You spent an entire year to try to raise $100,000, and our charitable gaming machines are doing better than that. And it just baffles me. But Ryan's on the phone. He said jacobsladderlouisville.com. Is
Thank
that
you.
the true website?
That is. I can't remember whether it's 502 or Louisville, because our email address is 502.
Yeah. I got Uncle Ryan on the phone.
Thank you, Uncle Ryan. So that, and most of our money has come from our capital campaign.
And that's amazing. I'm not downing it. I'm just saying that's a lot of effort to put into 3 events.
And we have been
begging volunteers to come in.
Yes, we've been doubling every time we do the event over. We're doubling.
Yeah.
So we're seeing progress. We're seeing more followers. We're getting more traction. It's been slow.
Yeah.
But we did not kick off our capital campaign until July of last year.
Oh wow.
And so we're trugging along. We just have a lot more to go.
Well, we found, after the pandemic, people, they don't volunteer like they used to. They don't have extra money really to donate. That's why gaming works so well for us. But
well, it's basically been mostly us as far as the volunteering for the events, the board member. We're a small board.
Right.
And it's mostly us and our families that work the events. The weekly outreach, I know there's one church that does it once a month. We've just reorganized again and made a sign-up genius so you can sign up. A woman from my church a couple weeks ago had contacted me and wanted to buy fried chicken for that night. So, she ordered it and I picked it up. And so we had fried chicken and other sides.
That's not just like soup
we get
slop or something.
We get food donated too. And Angie, if we don't have someone else providing the meal, Angie has done a lot of the cooking. We were getting some food for a couple of weeks, and then my contact went to another job, and I've reached out, but have not heard back from Sacred Heart Academy. The group that runs their campus is called Sages, and they want all their extra food to go places. So I was getting a call each week with all the leftover food that was absolutely wonderful, and marked how long it was good for and how to reheat it and all of that kind of stuff. So that was helpful for a while. So we get things like Panera donations. Most Paneras have somebody picking the
I was going to say
bread every day.
Seems like I read something not too long ago, but there's some city or state that has changed their regulations around food being thrown away. So instead of throwing it away, people like you all would go pick it up at the end of the night and have it for that night feed or the next day. To me, that makes all the sense in the world. But then and I see both sides. I always try to look at both sides of that. Then you got people working there knowing you're coming, so they're gonna deep fry 40 more chickens just because you all are coming and give it away, and then it hits their bottom. So I see both sides of it, but we gotta come to some common sense on this stuff. Stop throwing it away. Be realistic with it, and let people pick it up that are truly helping.
Right. I have picked up food from the Kentucky School for the Blind Charitable Foundation. I used to work at the School for the Blind. I pick up the extra food from their gala every year, and I take it. My Lions Club has a chili supper twice a year, and usually a lot of desserts and hot dogs and maybe some chili left over. And so depending on when those events happen, I know which outreach groups go out different nights. And so I contact them and say, who needs this food? Who needs this food? So there are a lot of even smaller places. I don't know if you've heard of Hillbilly Outfield at Derby time. It's been happening for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. It's in Middletown, and it's at a guy's house.
Is that a restaurant?
No. It's at a guy's house
for
Oaks and Derby Day.
Just a big party, right?
It's a big party, and
Okay.
it's a fundraiser, and they usually donate to somebody with Make-A-Wish or something like that. So I've been involved with them. My brother volunteers for them for years, and so he'll call me afterwards and say, we've got this much food left over from Hillbilly Outfield. Can you get it to people?
That's cool.
So that is a lot of our meals as well. Sometimes when I first got started in this about 10, 12 years ago, it had to be 15 because my daughter will be married 15 years this summer. I found Tiny, Kristen Markwell, and she connected me with someone with Keep Louisville Warm, and he got a lot of the leftover food from my daughter's wedding.
Wow.
Because again, it was just way too much for me to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to be able to pass that food on.
Right.
Yeah, I was at an event the other day, and they were doing pizzas. They had like 15 extra pizzas there, and nobody would take them home. So I don't know what they did with them, but it'd been a great thing to pass it on,
Everywhere I go, if I'm at an event, anywhere, I'm always like, who gets the extra food?
You taking that with you?
I'll take it. I will get it. My dad, there's a memorial golf scramble for my dad every year at Flagey at Shawnee.
Oh.
And several times, I haven't played in it recently, but if I was there for the dinner and then they had leftover, they were doing boxes for a while after the pandemic instead of a buffet. And I took all the boxes with me and said, I will get these to people who need them.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm always asking for food.
But back to the weekly serve. If someone wants to come and see what we're about before they would like to donate or volunteer, we would love to have you. We do not publish online. We're happy to tell an individual where we go, the 3 different locations. We'd love to have people help us cook or provide a meal. It doesn't mean you actually have to cook yourself. It can be carry out. It can
be pizzas.
It could be pizzas, or it could be a monetary donation to say, hey, please cook for me. All of those things work. But we would love people to come out and meet some of the individuals that we serve each and every Wednesday.
How do they contact you all if they want to do that?
They through Facebook, Jacob's Ladder Outreach, or there's a contact us on the website as well. There's a sign up genius where you can sign up to come volunteer, and when you sign up, we will
let you know where you're going to be.
Let you know where we're going to be, just to protect the privacy of the folks that we see every week. We just really do not publish where we are,
and it's an awareness because so many people have come and for the first time